Welcome to Life in Uptime, the podcast where we talk with the people behind the technology that keep our world connected. I'm Kevin, joined with my co-host Alexis. In every episode, we sit down with engineers, leaders, and builders in tech to uncover the stories behind their careers, how they started, what they've learned, and where they're headed next. Our goal is simple: to help you see how far tech can take you, no matter where you start from.
So today, guys, we have a very special guest. We're here with Matt Oborne, who started his career working fast food at Checkers before pivoting into IT. He doesn't have a degree, he doesn't have a ton of certifications, and he's mostly navigated his career by hard work and networking with the people around him. He's navigated a couple mergers, relocated across the country, and transitioned from video engineering into network engineering, and then moved into leadership as a director of IT. And what we want you all to take away from this today is that it doesn't matter where you start as long as you have the drive to keep moving forward. So, Matt, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hi, thank you. Good. How are you guys?
Great.
Now, I have to be fully transparent on this episode. So, Matt is one of my oldest friends. We've been friends since middle school. I think we actually became friends after he bullied me on a bus one day.
Yes. I'll equate that was fair. It was a highlighter incident that happened, and yeah, I was a jerk when I was in middle school.
Weren't we all?
Still is a little bit, but that's why we love you. So, Matt, you started out, your origin story is that you were flipping burgers at Checkers, working in high school, probably working too many hours that were legal.
Definitely underneath the table a little bit. Yes, yeah, I enjoyed the job.
And you transitioned to tech. Can you explain to me how you got your first job in tech? Like, what was that transition like, and why did you choose to go into tech?
Yeah. Okay. So at the time, I was a first assistant manager. So like that's the equivalent to right below store manager, which really in fast food work, that means you do all the work and store manager takes the credit. Which is cool. I actually didn't really mind it at all. It was just a lot of hours, a lot on your feet. So how I got the opportunity was honestly through networking. I had a really close friend who had gone through like military and stuff, and then after he got out of the Marines, he went into an MSO company as a leadership within a NOC and a network operations center. For those who aren't sure that term, that mainly means the center that kind of monitors, creates the tickets, and does some of the initial troubleshooting before sending to different groups. So we were really close friends, and he knew me as a hard worker, and so he gave me a couple opportunities to move into the NOC as an entry level engineer one, which at the time in my life I was also getting married, so I was looking at a little bit change of pace because those who work in hospitality food, it's a different beast of a schedule. You close one night, you wake up the next morning at 7 a.m. and you work in godly hours, and probably you might work like 18 days in a row and not have a day off. So I was looking for more of a, not necessarily 9 to 5, but a nice one where I actually had 2 scheduled days off and not on my feet constantly. Plus, I mean, be realistic, like fast food was never going to be the end game. It was kind of trying to get through college and stuff at the time. So I decided to pivot to the IT thing. Luckily, I did. My friend tried to get me 3 times. First time he asked me overnights, and I was like, no, I'm not going to work overnights. I love, people who love overnights, great, and sometimes we have to do it, but I couldn't do that life for that long.
That's always the first shift they try to get rid of. Like, oh, do you want overnights? Here, we'll take this. You're like, oh, no, no, thank you.
So luckily I got a swing shift, which was like a 3 to midnight position, and so I was able to at least get an interview. And at the time, the MSO was just growing, so they were fairly new. So it wasn't like you needed a level of certification or anything. It was more like, hey, it was more of how's your work ethic and how would you manage with the team, and do you have some sort of technical knowledge? I'll be all open with it. I didn't even have cable at the time. Like literally, no. I think I was still using AOL broadband, which ironically, and I probably was still paying for it at the time before I realized you could get for free after they got rid of the dial-up service and stuff. But so that's how I got the job. Transition, again, part of it was a personal interest of just trying to change my work-life balance type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean, I've never been one. I'm not like I don't know if I'm not really a tech nerd. Like I don't build a lab at home and stuff. I do enjoy troubleshooting, I would say. Like I think I like working on cars. I like, sports. I like doing certain things like that. But I don't consider myself a tech nerd. I think it was a good opportunity to change the work that I was doing, and try a new avenue of life and see what kind of stuck. I mean, I did do some tech, like we were in web design together, and nerdy fact, we were in game club together. So
yeah, it's a little different than wanting to make that your career, though. I feel like computer classes in school were always like kind of an easy class. Like as long as you showed up and tried a little bit, they usually just gave you an A or a B. Especially if you copied off of me everything you did. So
we were a team. We had the team of three,
quote unquote.
One of our third person didn't do anything. I did middle amount of work, and you did. You made everything look pretty and professional.
Well, what I find interesting is that you did this transition not because you were interested in IT, not because you had a passion for IT or that you love messing with technology. It was literally just because you wanted a better life. You wanted something different. And I think that's a cool or an important distinction to make, because especially with kids these days coming into tech, I always say kids these days. Every episode, I have to point out how old I am. Yes, exactly. Kids these days. No, I'm actually a lot of people who are very public about being in tech, talk about tech, make videos about tech. We do so because we're passionate, and you get this perspective that you have to be passionate to be in technology. That if you're not absolutely in love with staying up 12 hours to figure out, why your code's not working because you miss a semicolon, unless you have that passion, then you're not going to make it. But you are a testament to that not being true at all.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, I think I'm kind of a weird build because I don't like to say I'm a mercenary because I haven't moved companies in 20 years. So, like, I'm loyal to a fault sometimes, but also, I don't really I guess a long way back in my life, I realized that you're not always going to have your dream job, but you're going to have to pay a mortgage. So, at least enjoy what you do. You don't have to necessarily be immersed in it, but as long as you enjoy what you do, who you work for, and the overall people you work with, usually the job really is a kind of second thing to me.
So Matt, I have a question. Was there any points where you got that job at the NOC and you were sitting there and you were brand new and you were learning all these things and you thought, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
100%.
Was this actually the right thing? Was there any points where maybe you started looking outside of IT? Because again, you weren't doing it because you loved it. You were doing it because you had to pay your bills. You got options there.
I did. I mean, so one, I'm not really a huge active looker for jobs. I liked who I was working with. I liked the people I was working with. But yeah, there was a complete time where I was like, maybe this is way above my head. Just because it's big difference. Like of course, completely different fields, and things were a little bit different. Like in regards to just technology wise. Like again, I remember one day we would get phone calls from techs at the house that were expecting you to be like the guy who has all the answers. Mm-hmm. You're getting the guy who just started like 4 days ago. And, right. We would get questions like, and this was back in the early days. So it'd be like, how's HDMI work? Or I'm having a problem with this thing. And I remember looking over one of the guys who were there for a year. And I'm like, hey, can you give me like a 10-second rundown on how to troubleshoot HDMI? I mean, now looking back, it's silly, right? Because you unplug, you power up, you plug one, you plug the other in. Sooner or later, we'll sync after trial and error a couple times. But completely was. I think there's been a couple times in my career where I've shifted to either a different organization or a different role, and I'm like, ooh, maybe I don't want to go back. Ironically, I did get countered offered to Checkers to go back, and I thought about it, but I didn't. Just really weird.
I didn't know Checkers would counter. That's crazy.
Who gives you a counter offer? They're like, we'll pay you the same, we'll make you store manager, and we'll give you health benefits. I was like, it was. Yeah, no, there was definitely a time I was scared, I would say.
And you weren't tempted at all to go back because that's what you knew.
Oh, no, I was tempted to go back 100%. Yeah. It was, again, in Checkers, I'll be fully transparent, is one of my favorite time frames was I was working for one of my really close, still long-term friends, seem to get a lot of jobs through friends, who was my store manager / mentor, really. And so, he was like, hey, man, I got some would you come back if I got this? And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way they're going to give me health benefits. Sure, if you get me this, this, and this, I'll come back. And like he called at the end of the day, was like, they said okay, and I'm like,
wow.
Now what do I do? Sorry, I didn't. Sorry, you can edit that part out.
Well, and no, you're
We'll
fine.
bleep it.
And I think when stuff like that comes up, when you're in the middle of making a pivot, because I know there's multiple people who've been in that situation before. You're not happy at your current job, so you go looking, and then you find one, and then your current job's like, whoa, wait,
yeah.
And now we'll give you everything you wanted, and then you really have to do a bit of internal reflection of like, is this new job? Is this something that's aligned with what I want, with the future? Was I running towards something, or was I running away from something? And then also at my old job, I was asking for these things before.
Right.
But I was asking for these things for probably months or even years before I started looking, and you refused to give them to me. So now that I'm on my way out the door, like, that's so disrespectful. Is that something you still want to tolerate, or just cut your losses and walk away and start something new?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think everyone. I honestly think most of us have some sort of that feeling when we transition, just because there's a comfort level and there's a change, and there's going to be expectations that maybe you're not aware of or new to you. I guess maybe that's probably my greatest thing is that I don't really I get scared, but I don't really run away from it. Like once I pot commit, it's what it is, and better or worse, I always look at it as the thing I always look at is like I don't necessarily work. And this is gonna sound bad. I don't work for a company. I work for myself. At the end of the day, my whole thing has always been no matter what job I'm doing, if I gave 110%, whether I succeed or fail, there's nothing more I could have done. So at least I know I left it all on the quote unquote court, And I think that's kind of where that takes over in me. And plus, I like growth to a certain extent, right? Like none of us like to be overwhelmed, but it is nice to have new things and challenges and things that you have to learn because you should learn something. Like I try and say I learn something every day. I don't necessarily do, but
So I'm curious, for someone who openly admits you don't go to sleep at night thinking about work because you love it so much, what are the aspects of your job that you do really enjoy? Have there been things that you have grown to love, or?
So like I don't go to sleep necessarily thinking about tech. like I don't Cisco router, Juniper router.
Oh my God! Did you see that Cisco Hypershield just came out and eBPF packet filtering?
Like I'm probably like the worst person to talk about like what type of devices are new, and of course, unless I deal with them on a daily basis. But like I do like the work aspect of life. Like I like the being. I'm probably overly involved in regards to like reading emails and stuff like that and following up on stuff. So I do kind of have a workaholic aspect on that part. But in regards to like what makes me kind of tick is one, I like the troubleshooting, right? There's a problem. So I figure out the problem statement. Let's work our way towards it. Now, I might not know all the jargon and stuff that's going on, but it's interesting to figure out how to get past that, how it kind of came about, things you can do in the future to look for improvements or ways to either catch it before it becomes, visible to the customer or other people. Also ways to automate it or ways that to prevent it from getting designed or put in place in the future. So there's a lot of things that
so more
it's
like
kind of, to me, it's like a board game, like a mystery game. I don't know.
Like the systems or the process side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, because there's a lot of interesting things. Like we'll have issues, and I'll be like, I don't know how that was a network issue, and then I have to talk to someone who's a lot smarter than me, and then they'll be like, hey, this is what happened. Be like, okay, cool, that makes sense to me, and then one, it kind of clicks. Like there'll be, I guess I'm weird in the fact that there'll be issues where I'm lucky where I'll just have like, oh, we experienced that like 6 months ago. I kind of remember what we did. And then, but like a lot of it is interesting on how certain integral parts either just can sometimes cause issues that you don't expect.
And so you've admitted you're not the smartest man in the room, that you're not like this huge techie nerd who's studying and doing all these certifications and all that stuff, but you've found a way to go from the knock to engineering to a director level. What has been, would you say, is the biggest quality that you have that has allowed you to progress over the years to this level?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I will be the first to admit I'm not the smartest, the fastest, the strongest, any of that stuff. One thing I will say is I think a strong work ethic is very key because I don't want to compare it to future generations because I think everyone's kind of built their own ways, but certain people just don't have that extra gear.
Were you about to call
Um,
kids lazy?
yes, yes.
Kids
I don't
these
think all
days.
kids.
See, Matt and I are the same age. We both do it. Like kids
Yeah,
these days.
I think
I
there's
mean,
a generational.
I feel old now too, but it's fine.
Well, I think there's a
You're still in your 20s.
generational
Quiet.
difference that occurs every so often, and I feel like again, me and Kevin were a little bit weirder generation because we're kind of split between two generations where
Mhm.
we're not full like get off
Elder
my
millennial.
lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we still had like that. You go to work. I mean, I will be fully open. I haven't called in sick in like 5 days or 5 years. So
Wow.
there's no
Jeez.
like I literally. I mean, I know I'm pretty much wasting money that way, but I don't really call in sick. I will always be there. And that's not necessarily because I want to prove anything. I more feel bad when I'm out because I feel like I'm letting my team down, and that's just a feeling
Mhm.
inside of myself. So that's an example. Like it's a work ethic aspect. Like not always do you have to know everything, and I think people get fixated on how many certs I have or how much my technical knowledge is. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who are very very technically smart, but they don't have either troubleshooting skills where like if you have, I'm going to just go to a car, right? Your car doesn't start, you're going to look for gas, air, and spark, but like some people don't know where to start with that even though they have
Mhm.
like a complete knowledge of what the engine's built like.
Right.
Is
So
there
They'll check the tires. Like stuff
yes,
that doesn't make
exactly.
any sense at all.
Correct. Like
is,
I'm going to try and turn the key 3 times and that's going to do anything.
is there a reason you didn't end up going for any certifications throughout your career?
So I got a CCNA, but in all actuality, I'll be honest, it was just more of, for the most part, I didn't need them as I progressed. When I was in the knock, we had certifications that were semi-required, but most of them were field related. So it was a lot of
Mhm.
like RF stuff, and then and again, I was pretty much part of the knock. They're like at the infant stage, so like I joke, like I'm Homer Simpson, like you're building the building. I just kind of showed up and was like, "Hey, I'm here, woo!" You know, I've been here forever, guys. No, and then a
You
lot of the
came with the
stuff.
building.
Yes. And then like video, they never really honestly pushed for a lot of Linux certification till much later on in life. So like even though I was doing a lot of Linux stuff or working on a lot of servers or video equipment, I didn't have to have any certification, and it was more like as long as you had the practical knowledge, it was okay. And then same thing with network. I have the CCNA, but the other thing I kind of stress with certs is certs are great, but certs are a perfect wise network, right? Or a perfect
Mhm.
wise system. Like I hate to break it to everybody, but when you get into smaller systems where you have control over, it can be a little bit different. But when you get into some of the other bigger
They're
systems
all
and stuff,
clusters.
they're
They're all a mess.
there. Doesn't matter, what the perfect scenario is. They're all built a completely opposite, completely
Mhm.
different way. And sometimes it's paper clips and bubble gum that puts it together. I don't
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
like
most networks grow organically where they start small
yes.
and then you kind of just paperclip things, bubblegum things together until
Yep.
you have this 20-year-old network that has been piecemealed together by 30 different network engineers, and none of them were on the same page doing it.
Exactly. So
That
it's kind
gives
of
me it
like
gives me anxiety hearing that.
well, like
I know
especially
that's I know that's
when you
how it
get
is
to
in real life, but I like to pretend.
yeah, it's like when you get to an MSO level, like there's between mergers and stuff, it's a simple idea of like how do we make it work, not really what the best design always is.
Mhm.
So like that's one thing is okay. So like if we go back to the question, I'm sorry I went off topic there, but one, I think my dedication, hard work is one thing that I kind of outshine. Like I said, I'm not smarter, faster, stronger than anyone, but I will outwork most. I don't mind late nights. I don't mind early mornings. You tell me what days or whatever I got to be there, I'll be there. Um, Two, I think part of it is understanding your shortcomings, but also learning your resources when you hit those shortcomings, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to
Mhm.
understand, like, I'm not the smartest guy. Now, my counterpart is incredibly smart when it comes to network guy. Like, I think he's probably the smartest guy I've known in a long time. There's other guys when I was in the server world that was incredibly smart when it came to Linux and servers or video on demand stuff and that
Mhm.
type of stuff. And, you know, it's building that relationship with them where I don't want to lean on you all the time. Like, I'm not going to come to you for every question, but I'm going to come to you when I have a question, learn from that answer, retain that answer, and then also be able to kind of build upon that, right?
Yeah.
And over time, I think with that, it creates an adaptability that you're able to learn on the fly, grow, and then also grow your knowledge. So the next time you have that little bit extra, like, you don't have to go from 0 to 100, but little breadcrumbs as you go along will build your abilities 110% comparative to just trying to learn it all.
So is that how you going from a knock where you're dealing with, a monitoring board of different alarms going off, you create a ticket and then you push it off to engineers and then it's goodbye, you're moving on to the next thing. You were thrown into an engineering role. And by the way, I did the same thing. Matt actually got me my job at the knock at the ISP. And I kind of followed the same path where I went from there to engineering. And for me doing this, it was a whole new world. Like at the knock, you have basically read access to everything. So you can't really do anything. Yep. And you have a giant, what we called spectrum at the time, where it was just colored alarms. Whoop, you're whoop, like, red whoop. Is really bad. Orange is like, check it out and see what it is, that kind of stuff. How do you go from that to, like you said, you're not technical, you didn't have any certifications. How do you go from that to like fixing stuff or being in charge of actually going in and configuring stuff right away without training, without a degree, without any of this stuff?
Again, one was, as for the alarm board example, when I created a ticket, even though I knew who I was assigning it to, and this helped with the relationship building too later on, is I didn't just want to assign it. I wanted to know what I could do to do whatever initial troubleshooting I had the ability to. Because like you said, at knock, I couldn't even shut down a port, right? But I could at least say, okay, this port goes to a video device. It's probably not a network ticket. It's really a video ticket where like 70% of the time, other technicians would just be like, oh, network device on the alarm name, boop, who cares what the port goes to, and things like that. But even like when I was in a knock, I gravitated more honestly to video than I did network, because video in my mind for some reason made more sense to me. And not gonna lie, it's also a lot more GUI based, so it's a lot more, pretty pictures, green, red, yeah, exactly, no scrolling logs and stuff, but a lot of times,
Matt, I also prefer pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Like MRTG compared to like show monitor interface, it's I have green traffic, great. But I think there's the opportunity there. Again, I use that as examples. Like maybe I didn't know everything, but I would ask small questions, try to learn from them, and then as I learn from that, one, it's building my relationship because the engineer's like, oh, well, he's at least trying to get me all the information I need so I can pinpoint what's going on. And two, it allowed me to grow in my knowledge as things came about. And like also the important thing is, is the work smarter, not harder. Like get to know your tools real well. Like that's why companies spend millions of dollars on tools, because guess what? Sometimes they can help you find the problem when you don't know the command,
Right.
So there's a lot of that part, I think. With the video world, we did have some break fix capability, but it could be a little bit of a thing. But since I was there from inception, like restarting MQuams and GQuams back in the day and stuff wasn't really that big of a deal for me, because I kind of, again, it mainly came from the knowledge of, hey, what can I do when I get this ticket? But we're just going to go in here, click this, QS it, and then restart it. I was like, oh, well, can you show me those 3 steps and I'll do it before I send the ticket over to you? Like, cool.
Well, I think, Matt, what I'm hearing, a common thread is just taking pride in your work.
Yeah.
Making sure that you are doing things thoroughly, or you want a generally good result. You're not just trying to push this ticket off your desk so that you can get to the next thing or go back to checking fantasy football or, whatever else you prefer to be doing. You actually care about the end result. And I think that says a lot about, like you said, your work ethic and drive, and also how people perceive you. I know, Kevin, we've talked a little bit about personal branding on here and your reputation. But things like that really do go a long way in the workforce, and people remember you for it.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a big thing because like resources are important. Again, I'll continue to stress that it's important. Like you're not going to know everything, and if you are expecting to know everything to get a promotion, it doesn't work. It's usually the people who develop that ability, one, to take pride in the work, like you were saying, or take it seriously, right? Take ownership. Like I
Mhm.
consider anytime I put my name in a ticket, that has a certain value to me. I don't honestly care what other people think, but like I care that when you see you're going through a ticket, you're like, okay, maybe this wasn't done right, this wasn't done right. Oh, there's Matt's update. Okay, it was right. He did this, he did this, he did this. Cool. One, I don't get yelled at that way. Two, it's more of like, again, I work more for my thing, so that's my 110%, right? Like I'm giving you all my effort. I'm just not going click it, ticket, send it, yay.
Mhm.
But again, I don't like to say that it's important for me to gain knowledge as I go on because I want to know what I can do for that alarm, right? I want to know what options I have. Is there something I can learn to do or something I can learn to check, even if it's a log message? Like I don't know. Working a knock was incredible because what I don't think people get or realize with the knock is you get to experience every technology. Like
Mhm.
it's not just network, it's not just video, it's voice, it's whatever application services you have. It's caller ID on TV, it's caller ID on phone, it's 911 calls, it's SIP traffic. So like coming from the knock is very entertaining because then you can kind of say, okay, well, what do I like troubleshooting to an extent, and then kind
Mhm.
of move from there. And that led me to video. So
Yeah. And I get asked a lot because I get a lot of followers that are entry level, and a lot of them start out at help desk or in the knock position. They're like, I want to move up. No one goes to help desk or knock and is like, I want to stay here forever. There are a few.
correct. There are a
I mean,
few.
we're
There are a
friends with some of
few.
them.
Yes, there are a
We're
few
still there 20 years
who
later.
are like 50 years old and they're still.
Yeah.
I mean, again, their comfort zone.
Yeah,
Completely
and
understand.
that's completely valid. But there are a lot of people who go into those positions as entry level positions that don't want to stay there forever. And they
Right.
ask me, what's the easiest way or the best way to move up? And I always say, whenever you're done with your ticket, you've escalated it, whatever, follow the ticket. Don't just be done with it. Follow the
Yeah.
ticket, see what the engineers actually did to fix it, what the problem was. You can learn, but number one, you can learn from it. So if you
Yep.
do want to apply for that job eventually, they're going to be asking you technical questions and you have some background of how they fix things and how their methodology is and troubleshooting and that kind of stuff. But also you can start doing some of the legwork for them, doing some of the show commands they would need, some of the output,
Yep.
some of the logs, that kind of stuff. So when they do get your ticket, they start associating your name with doing the hard work, the I don't want to call it like the grunt work of doing
the
this stuff
first level.
for them.
It's the first you're doing the first level troubleshooting that they would do, so it
Mhm.
allows them to get past the first 20 minutes. Okay, let me first figure out where this device goes. Okay, now let me see how long it's been down. Let me see what's in the logs. Like all of that stuff is honestly, it's not easy necessarily, but it's something that if you want to grow, those are things you want to do. Because like you're saying, they're going to associate your game is making that brand, that name of branding, right? Association. Matt, I get Matt. He's on a bridge. He knows what's going on. He's paying attention. He's following through. He's getting whatever I need. Plus, he's following along with the ticket, and he'll help me get whatever additional logs I need while I'm doing maybe sharing stream with Cisco or Juniper or whatever. He'll pull the logs or whatever. So I think that's the twofold, right? Like a lot of people think, okay, I have to. If I'm the smartest guy on the team, I should be the highest paid or highest promoted. One, I hate to break it to you in the real world, there's always going to be someone who's paid higher than you that necessarily doesn't know or is as good as you. Two, it's just matter of circumstance. And two, it's one of those things like it's not. There's a lot of smart people who just don't take the extra effort to do the bare minimum, right? Like, or even the extra step, right? Like I joke, like you have percentage of people. I feel like you'll have certain people who will go above and beyond. You have certain who are happy just doing. Okay, I click it, I take it, I send it, and then you have certain people who are like, I don't even look at the board. I don't know. So
just tell
like
me
different.
what to do. Tell me what you want from me.
Just okay, I'll click it, no problem. But there's different levels, and if you want to progress, yes, certs and knowledge is great, but you could have all the knowledge in the world, but people just see you as not effective, then it won't suffice. Like I've been growing a lot on my interpersonal skills because hey, tech world, we're not all the most personal people.
What are you talking about?
Right?
I have no idea what you're mentioning.
But one thing I've always been throughout my career is no matter what you perceive me as personality wise, I will get the job done for you. So like if you come to me, I might not give you the exact personal response you want, but you'll know I'll get the job done and it will get to where it needs to go. So
you say that you're like you're a problem solver. Is that like your brand is like no matter what your boss comes to you, your director comes to you, and they have a problem, and you may not be able to fix it yourself, but I will find someone to fix it, and the problem will get resolved.
Yep. Well, usually go through, and I mean that's my goal. Is in the end that if you give me an issue, whatever it is I need this activity done by a certain date, or I need to fix a certain problem that's been going on for months. Cool. I'll even if it means we're sitting on a call with a vendor for like every day at 2 p.m. until we figure out the problem. Cool. You know, it's
been
fine.
on those calls and they're not fun.
They are not like, what's different today? Well, we still don't know.
The first 3 days, it's like, yeah, let's get the team together. This is so exciting. We're going to fix it. And then by the fourth day, it's like, hey guys, no updates.
We're still looking at the logs. Our development team is trying to lab it up. Yeah, no.
It's not fun to be on either side of those calls.
Yeah. It isn't, but like Kevin said, like I guess my nerdy tendency is not necessarily. I'm interested in certain issues. Like if I have an issue that was going on for a long time, or it was something completely strange that I either one. My initial thought is like, hey, this isn't going to be something that should be a network related issue or video related issue or whatever. And then it ends up being like those are the ones that I still follow them a lot because I care about what the outcome of the impact was, right? So that way I can equate how do we get to the end result faster. Sometimes it's just having the knowledge that, hey, we had this ticket. Again, we had this ticket 3 months ago. Same thing, same exact standard. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, we did this, and this. Can we try that? Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
I'm curious, Matt, because we've talked a lot about like going the extra mile, working hard, being there early, staying late, doing what it takes. Have you had a point in your career almost where you took a step back, right? And that's a personal question for me because I'm at a point, not a point in my life, but like the past 6 months just personally have been really, really rough. And I'm really struggling with, I feel like I need to go 0 to 100 in my job with content. And also it's okay to take a step back and just let stuff ride and have a season of pause. Have you had one of those?
I have. Okay, so I have. What I'll honestly tell you is working for the same company for 20 years in different organizations, you get ebbs and flows. I think every person, any type of job will get ebbs and flows. Like there may be a period where you're dedicated 300%, and there's a period where you're like, and it's okay, right? It's okay sometimes to be like, I
don't care that much. It's okay if this one slides.
Well, I don't think it's care. I think it's just that it's like anything. If you do anything for too much at such a high level, you're going to feel burnout, right? If you're taking care of elderly people and they're your parents, you're going to have a burnout at some point where it's just tiresome. If you're working a car for 6 months and, it just seems to always give you problems, you're going to have a burnout. I think everyone has that period of time where it's like, well, maybe I'm not giving my 110%, but I'm giving 80%. But, again, I can joke and I feel sometimes like my 80% is still pretty good.
It's someone else's 100%.
So like
you trained that.
I did. At first, like I've had a lot of good mentors in my life, and I've had a leader who was literally like, "Look, Matt," because I would get so frustrated. I would come to him and be like, "Look, I'm beating my head against the wall, and this is happening, but we're not going anywhere. I don't know what else I can do, and I review tickets every day, and blah blah blah." And he's like, "Look, Matt, it's okay. Just take it to 80%. Take a break for a couple weeks, couple months, whatever. Your 80% is fine. I'm happy with your 80%. When you do 110%, I'm even more happy. But you know what? I'm not mad at you if you're just like, look." I can joke. There's been times where I've certain quality checks that I do, and I just got honestly tired of being the only one who did them. So I would date them on the last time I did them, stop for 3 months, and then wait for someone to be like, "Did you stop doing the quality checks?" Well, yes, I did.
How did 3 months to notice? Yeah.
What date do you think I stopped? Oh, around this week. I'm like, bingo.
That's crazy.
So, I think I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we all need to learn to adjust sometimes our energy levels based on what's going on in life, how we feel, that type of stuff. Like I don't take any days off, mental health days, anything like that. But there are days that I go in there and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to work. I'm going to do my meetings. I'm going to get if an outage comes in or anything, but I'm not going to go too in depth on everything, And I think there's also ways of doing that throughout your week. Like what I learned most from fast food world is it's going to sound bad, but like in fast food, you had to cut labor throughout the week. So you would hit a percentage of labor comparative to sales, right? So you never wanted to have to cut labor on Friday and Saturday because those are your two busiest days. So you would work your butt off Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. And then that way you could kind of coast Friday and Saturday through the busy stuff and not have to have like only one one guy doing fries or something, you know.
Mhm.
You could have like literally the one guy just running back to get whatever product you need. So that's kind of how I do it as well. Is like I don't necessarily not give 100% all the time. I just think I stagger my week to where I know okay, Sunday's my slow day when it comes to impacting events or ticket wise. So I'm going to try and push through everything I can, paperwork wise or project wise. And even though most people book out at like 1 o'clock, okay, I'll stay till 5, my normal shift, but I'm doing paperwork and stuff or numbers or quality checks or whatever. And that way, when Monday and Tuesday come, which are like the days where everything's going to break, you're like, okay, well,
I'm
Yeah.
ready.
I'm focused
Bring it
on mainly
on.
just this. This is what I got, and I'm in this headspace, and that's good. Like all I gotta do is worry about the influx. I don't gotta worry about all the side objects, you know. And then Wednesday is kind of my day to again sink back into that because I have a second. My counterpart's there, so it's like, well, you're here. I'm gonna sink back a little bit. You do the main stuff, and I'll do whatever work I need to do to make sure that when I leave, you're set up for success the rest of the week. So.
Yeah. It reminds me of like the ant and the grasshopper story where like, the ant's working all the time. And then when the emergency happens, he has all that surplus. When the grasshopper's been slacking off, the emergency happens, then he's got a pile of crap that he has to deal with. It's kind of the same thing where you kind of front load your shift week. So you get all your paperwork, all your stuff out of the way. So by the end of the week, you can kind of take it easy a little bit, still do your meetings, still do what you have to do, put out fires, but you're not waiting till the last moment to finish all your stuff before your end of the week.
Correct. And like it's just not overloading you. So like there's also ways to do that. And like I consider that as taking a step back. Now, of course, the weird part was when I go into leadership, then it's as you go up different levels of leadership, you have to kind of it was really hard for me when I went from manager to director because manager I was very much kind of hands on, like, okay, we're doing this. Okay, I see it's costed. Okay, I see this, we're good. Where director, you kind of have to take that little bit of control factor away and be like, okay, I trust my manager is going to check this. And in the beginning, that was a little hard for me. I still work through that as days go by, but there are certain aspects that you'll take off your plate as you progress as well.
That was going to be number one. Great segue. Thank you. That makes it easy for me because I was going to ask you, now we've been talking about being a tech and being an engineer for a while, and I wanted to transition to your leadership role and how you made that transition mentally of going from, I got to work 110%. I'm concentrating on my tickets and my outages and that kind of stuff to thinking more of a team level, more of a company level, which to me, like that big a picture where I'm thinking company wide, I'm making decisions for not only me and my team, but for the benefit of everybody. That's a lot of pressure and a lot of change in the way you think. So how was that transition like for you?
So again, I think there was a lot of changes as I progressed through that, right? Like I think I'll say there's been different stages in each one. So like I went from engineer to manager. Not necessarily, again, I'm going to be all honest, transparent, not necessarily because I chose that. It was more of a, hey, we need this at this time and we feel you're the best guy to fill in at that position. But in all honesty, I was probably a better manager than I was a network engineer.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense.
Again, I just think I had gone from video to network fairly quickly without very much training. So I could trace an M-trace or I could trace a multicast route with nobody's business. But could I necessarily do all the configurations you need me to do on stuff? Probably not. But I think the first problem I experienced when I went into a manager from engineer was I was too focused on trying to be an engineer and a manager at the same time. And I think in the tech world, it is great. I think it's very much, I don't necessarily hate it, but I do dislike the comment like, I don't need to be technical for a management role. Because yes, you don't need to do technical things, but you need to have the ability to sometimes, again, it goes back to like the knock thing. You need to be able to at least check like an interface description sometimes or a log mesh at sometimes, or at least understand what this might mean. Do you need to know how to Yeah, do you like? I can look at a device and tell you I have an Apex on it, which means that Apex, since my video background, is going to feed channels. I don't know what channels, I don't know what type of channels, but it's going to feed channels. So likelihood is I can't reboot this device in the middle of the day because I'm going to cause some sort of impact. So like, I think it is good to have a technical understanding. Not necessarily you don't have to be able to rebuild the network or fix the problem. Um, but I digress. So when I first started, I was trying to be twofold, engineer and manager, and that my 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 direct report at that time actually took away my config access to stop me from doing that. Like one day, my boss came up to me and was like, "Hey, go to config T." I was like, "Oh, it says I'm not authorized." He's like, "Awesome. I try to be a manager."
They had to force you to take a step back.
Yeah. But like I honestly needed that because it was very important because again, like you said, the dynamic shift, like it's not just your ticket, now it's your overall team, right? So like how is my team doing with their tickets? Where is my team at with their tickets? Is my team doing the correct things with their tickets? Are they following processes? Are there processes we need? Is there training we need? That kind of stuff. And as I evolved, I think that helped a lot. Again, I think when you go into leadership, um, I'm a very big component of like I have a certain structure I build and whatever, but like it's always I have certain generals who I rely on who are my engineers who you tell me in all honesty, I'm gonna take it almost as it's gospel. Now I might check you a couple times and then I joke with you and be like, ha ha ha, you lied to me. But but you know, there's certain ones I put certain levels of responsibility based on. Again, a lot of it is knowledge, work based, or work ethic, that type of stuff. You know, just because you're the smartest guy on my team doesn't mean you necessarily are the guy who I trust full heartedly.
Mhm.
But
Is it hard because you do have such a lot of like work ethic and drive? Is it hard if someone on your team isn't responding to something the same way that you do or you would?
no, no. Again, this is a growing process, right? So when you first start, yes, it is because you're like everyone should work like Matt does, but unfortunately, that's unfair expectation, right? Because I put myself. There are certain things I'm probably my hardest critic always. So like I always feel like there's something I could have done better. And on top of that, I work at a certain work level effort. I look at it now as I've grown, as I think it's important as you go up, especially as in the management level, when you're managing a team, I think it's important to have some sort of not personal relationship, but ability to be personal for person, like what's going on, how's life, blah blah blah, but also understanding what their desires are. Because there are some people who they're happy being an engineer 3 for the rest of their life, taking their 3% increase. They don't want the extra stress. They want to do their thing, you know. Um, like I always equate it to a basketball team. Like if you had 3 Michael Jordans or 3 LeBron James, you wouldn't win the championship because you don't win on pure talent, right? Like in a good basketball team, you have to have the Jordan and the Pippen and then the Rodman, right? The Jordan is the guy who can do everything and he's amazing. And you have Scottie Pippen who's pretty good, but he defers to Jordan. So he knows, hey, Jordan's still my if the end shot comes, I'm passing the ball to him and he's taking the shot. I know that's happening every time. And then you kind of have the Dennis Rodman who's the underappreciated guy who, you know, he gets the rebounds and does all the dirty work that necessarily Jordan and Pippen don't either have time or want to do.
Mhm.
And then you have other role players, right? People who like, look, I just need you to come off the bench one time and make a shot. I just need you to take this one type of ticket and roll through it every time, you know,
Mhm.
like, and I think the big part is
This
understanding
is
that part.
your jam.
Yeah, you are great at this type of ticket, you know. I mean, there's been engineers where I'm like, look, man, I don't want you to take an outage. I just want you to do like the basic optical stuff because you're great at that. When you step that next level, things go bad.
But that
So
plays a role because like it frees up the other engineer who is good at outages to take that on instead of
correct.
trying to fit a round peg in a square hole.
Right. And it's just like understanding. There's certain engineers who love to do the little, I don't want to say the projects, right? Like they love to be like, hey, I need you to investigate this. This has been happening and I don't know what it is, but can we figure it out, work with the vendor, work with SD, whatever we have to do to figure this part out. And they love that. And they'll give you an amazing email write up on everything they've done. And then there's other ones that are like, you want me to do what? That's so much work. And I'm like, all right, fair, get it, so.
Fair. It's like, fair enough, all right.
I mean, I don't want to push you to do, like, if you put, there's a difference between trying to push you to take that next step, like, okay, hey, next time, let's look at the logs and check this part. This is what we were looking for. Comparative to, like, I want you to give me 110% when I know that's not your 110%.
Yeah.
Because then you're not going to get the outcome you wanted, and you're probably going to get more stressed out, and then you're just going to stress them out. And, again, I think, and I didn't know this when I first became a manager. When I first became a manager, and I'm sure Kevin can attest to it,
it was rough.
Sometimes
it was
very
rough.
hard on my engineers, where I was just like, I was very much like, I need you to do this. Why aren't we getting here? And, and it didn't work out well sometimes.
I was gonna ask Matt, what was the push to go into leadership? Was it just the next logical step in your career, or was there a burning desire to grow and develop young talent?
Again, this is not probably the perfect answer. It's weird. Like, throughout my whole life, I've never aspired to be like, I want to be the manager, or I want to be the leader, or I want to be anything like that. But it just seems like I naturally fall into that realm. So, like, when I worked at Checkers, I was a cashier and I was a line guy and whatever. I was a normal food person. But then when they noticed my talent, they're like, hey, maybe you should try for a shift manager. And then from shift manager, it's like, oh, you're doing good as a shift manager. Let's go to, second assistant. And, oh, Matt, I want you as my first assistant. And it kind of worked that way in the knock, too, I think, was... It was go ahead.
What is the talent you said? Like, they saw your talent. Now, your talent wasn't just like because you could flip a burger really well, right? It's all in the wrist and you were flipping it up. It was not that kind of talent, right?
No. 100% not like that kind of talent. Now, I could run line in like 30 seconds during lunch, so I was okay. But no, I think the talent was that there was an aspect of critical thinking, like, how can we do this quicker, better, easier? Not because I'm lazy, just because it's silly to do inefficiency, right? Like in hospitality, it's like, how can you eliminate steps or mistakes? And tech world, it's kind of the same thing, but it's just in a different world. But I guess it was the attention to that part, plus the fact that, again, I'll stress the work ethic and availability. Like, I could always be counted on. I'd always be there, whatever time you needed. And then I think there was also just the aspect of, I don't feel like I have it, and I don't know if you do because you're my friend, but like people are like, oh, you have this like somewhat sort of charisma around you. It's not necessarily the most politically correct always.
Matt's got the Riz. We heard it here.
I don't think I do. Like, I've never been great at other ends of life. Yeah, I guess it's my aura, right? Like,
I can tell you,
aura maxing.
I have known Matt in multiple capacities. I've known Matt as a kid. I've known Matt as the drunk guy in Las Vegas. I've known Matt as a manager. So I've had all spectrum of Matt. And I say that your ability to talk to people on their level, I think, is what it is. Like, you can talk to your employee or whatever, and like you're I wouldn't say you're trying to be your friend, but you talk to them in a way that is like comfort. Like, it's comfort. It's a comfort level. They're not scared of you as much. But then you can also elevate yourself and talk to directors and write emails that are like, that go to the director's level, and you can adapt to your audience and who you're around.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. So like the management thing, I've always been just kind of gravitated to that. When I was at the knock, I ended up going into lead supervisor, and then I went to video, and I swore that was gonna be the last time I got into management, just because I got tired of the politics within the knock. And then I went over to network, and my manager at the time was like, hey, I need a manager. I'm like, I didn't want to be a manager. Remember, that's why I went to video. And he's like, no, you're not understanding what I'm telling you.
You're being voluntold. All right.
Yeah, you're going to be the manager because I can trust you, and I know you'll make sure things get better. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then again, like, I also have never been one who stresses for titles. So, like, for instance, I was a manager for 7 years till I got senior manager. Not because necessarily I didn't deserve it, because there was times where, like, for 3 or 4 months, like, my director was out on health leave, and that was me and no other managers, and Matt ran the ship and kept it afloat, and people were happy. But at the time, you'd have to be a senior manager before you get promoted to a director. So there was that HR limitation, which, whatever. I didn't care at that point. So,
I,
and then
I'm
I got senior manager, and then I went to director, and director was kind of, again, I slid, like, it was an admiration after I had gotten a management role, because of course you want to continue to progress. Like, I don't want to just sit as a manager for the rest of my life. But so when that avenue opened up again, same leader came to me and was like, "Hey man, you're the best I got. You ready for this role? Sure, I'll take a swing at it. Let's go. Whatever you want."
Do you think that's a big part of the reason you never went looking outside the company? Because I think that, I mean, today, the general rule of advice that people give my generation is every 3 years.
You dang kids.
At least every 3 years, you need to be looking. If you're not getting what you want, if you're not getting promoted, even if you are getting promoted, you'll get promoted faster if you continue hopping, whether that's roles internally to the company or externally to the company. And there just seems to be a lot more movement.
I'm sure that's probably part of it. Is just my loyalty to certain aspects. And again, on that topic, like, I probably am not the highest paid, and I'm gonna go okay with that too. Like, I feel like I make enough money to live comfortably, and like, I'm not rich, I'm not poor, I'm not starving or anything. But on the same note, um, I don't know. Like, my outlook is, if I enjoy the person I work for and a person for the people I work with in general, I'm complacent on being whatever role I am as I move through it. Right. Like, now, if do I want to sit and be the same role for 15 years? No. Do I understand that there's a process and there's also a numbers game that you run into? So maybe that 3 years turns into 5 years. Cool. But a lot of times what I've realized out of that aspect is, one, name branding, right? If you're constantly moving, how do they know your name brand, right? Now, I'm not saying 20 years of a company is what you should do always, because I will agree it probably doesn't get you paid as much as you would like to get paid in life and stuff, but there's a name branding. So, like, I have a certain brand that goes with my name, and I don't want to say I get some get out of jail free cards, but because of my loyalty and my name branding, when others might have gotten into more, got a little shorter of a leash, I probably got a little longer of a leash in regards to, disciplinary action, or even just, expectation wise.
I also
And
feel like the ISP world is so in tech in general, I feel like we're kind of a small niche of people, right? Like,
yep,
kind of, there's like 7 degrees of bacon, Kevin Bacon, where I feel like I can pretty much run into anyone in tech, and someone knows someone. And I
yep,
think the ISP world is even smaller. There's only a few ISPs out there,
yep.
and if it's much harder to jump around at an ISP. Is that accurate?
It is. It is. It is. It's a little easier depending on situations, but it is. What I always joke is, like, 9 times out of 10, you end up coming back to the company at least one time,
Yeah,
right? So it's
exactly.
like, you're not really leaving the company; you're just leaving. Like, I get it. There's pay increases and stuff, but sometimes there's also you get, again, it will go back to that name branding aspect, right? Like,
Mhm.
the name branding aspect is, the company equates you to a loyal employee who does more than is expected.
Mhm.
And so sometimes when they're like, "Oh, well, Matt missed this," be like, "But he's caught
Yeah.
this like 37 other times."
Yeah,
So
you have a pattern
can't
of
really,
success.
right. And it's hard to develop that when you're constantly changing jobs to further your financial situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you talked about not leaving the company and staying where you are for your brand. But even though you haven't moved companies, you've had mergers and buyouts, as all ISPs do every few years, it seems like.
Hmm.
Have you, like, I've never been through a merger. I left the ISP right before they got bought out and everyone moved to Colorado. So I
Yep.
didn't have to experience that. But did you have to experience that, like, back to, like, trust me, I've been doing this for a while, when you have maybe a new leadership team or a new, like, they're trying to find out who's the fat to cut?
Yep, yep, 100%. One reason why I went to network was because it was fairly the same leadership chain as previous, but even within that, when as manager role, like, you deal with different organizations within your own organization, and they were all different leadership who had no experience of who you were or what you did or your capabilities or anything like that. Same thing with engineers and stuff like that, and everyone being in different roles. So yeah, it is a rebuilding to a certain extent, but a lot of times what you're lucky in those regards is a lot of times there'll be someone who's on that team who has some knowledge of you, and they're like, hey, I'd probably go talk to Matt because if you need something done, he'll get it done for you. And again, the work ethic is a big part, right? So like, it's great to have knowledge, but when you have those mergers, they're going to look at who's dependable, who's the one who works, goes a little bit the extra mile, who's the one we can count on. Again, for a corporation, you are a number. Don't ever get that through your head like the corporation honestly cares that you're Matt Oborne or anything like that.
Employee number 115.
Even if you've been there for 20 years.
Doesn't matter. My login is still a P and a number. So, I'm literally the boring. Like, I'm P2175553 reporting for duty.
Get down.
But it's fine. You'll have to get my password. Good luck. But that being said, like, it is good because other people will be like, hey, you'll get certain people who vouch for you, right? Like, oh, hey, Matt's really good. You should go talk to him. Oh, Matt came off like a jerk. Don't worry, he's not really that thing. If you go talk to him in person, he's just a little short guy who's pretty much likes Christmas, and that's kind of weird.
That's how we should describe it in the podcast. Like, our guest today is Matt. He's a little short guy who likes Christmas.
So, like, it's good because you still carry the brand over. And then, as you said, like, since ISPs are so smallly intermingled, that, like, a lot of times, there's been times I get on Cisco calls or Juniper calls or someone, and the engineer was literally someone who worked with me, for me, part of me, or I interacted with. So, like, that branding can still go across, but
it's a small industry.
It's a very small pond. Like, I'm waiting for the day. I keep trying to call Kevin back, but he says no every time.
You can't pay me enough. That Colorado life's expensive, man.
I got a basement bedroom for you, buddy.
Oh my God.
It's free.
Did you have to reapply for your job? I've heard that as a thing.
When I was with the NOC and we transitioned, I don't even know what we necessarily transitioned to because the roles and everything were the same. We just transitioned name. I did have to reapply back then. Video, I never had an adjustment, so it was just whatever you were. In charter, whenever you whenever you go a position in management, you will have to technically reapply for that. For, like, if I want to become a director, I got to apply for the director role. I can't just not go through that process. But from an engineer perspective, the only time you'll have to reapply is when you go from, like, an engineer 4 to a principal engineer, and that's more just them verifying you're actually knowledgeable enough to be a principal engineer.
That's like a technical interview.
Because it's a fairly large pay scale / reward jump. And then on top of that, most of the time, whenever you get a normal promotion, you'll have to have some sort of new cert nowadays in the MSO world. It doesn't have to necessarily be like CCNP, CCIE, or anything like that. It just has to be like, oh, I got my optical certification, which, like, the CN optical is an open book test. So cool. Took some time. Or I did, like, basics of Linux or something like that. But so I've only officially had to interview for my job one time, and that was within the NOC when we transitioned from the original precursor NOC to the TSO NOC, which in all actuality, responsibilities and everything wasn't different. I think it was just their way of cutting the fat without having to call it a layoff or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Matt, I do have a question for you, and I know we're almost coming up on time here. But for someone who doesn't have a degree or certifications, and they're listening to this story and they're wondering, where do I start? How do I actually do this? What is one thing you want them to take away from your story?
I would say, one, don't feel that you don't have abilities because of the degree. Yes, it gets a little harder to open some doors, but again, the more and more you network, the easier that becomes as well. Like, there was the person who hired me, even me to a certain extent, there's been people who I've hired who have no, like, technical background, but they are a very hard worker, whether I see it. I mean, I remember the person who hired me, they hired someone out of a restaurant just because, well, I was out of a restaurant too, but just because they knew the work ethic of that person. So, even when you're trying to work to get into the tech field, whatever you're doing, just know that there might be someone out there who will see your the effort you're putting forth, and that can even get you an opening to the door. So it's not always what you have on paper. Like, I'm terrified to death if I ever go in the job world today because I don't have a cert, I don't have a degree, I have a high school diploma, some college, and a lot of experience. Now, of course, once you get your foot in the door, that's where your opportunity is, right? So focus on getting a foot in the door, not necessarily how skilled you look. And once you get in the door, then it's your opportunity to run with it, right? Like, there's been plenty of people who I've given a position where I'm like, well, giving you an opportunity, what you do with it is your choice, right? Like, if you decide to just completely throw it away, then you'll end up getting terminated or laid off or whatever. But if you take it, run with it, put forth effort, you can become successful and make a career.
I find
that's what I felt. That's what I felt I did. I just got a foot in the door, luckily through a friend. My friend never guaranteed me anything, and because of the effort I've put forth, I've made a career out of something that probably I honestly shouldn't have got a foot in the door nowadays.
Yeah, like, it's crazy that you and I both wouldn't get hired now at the knock.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, okay, great. Like, look where I am now. And I don't think people, the biggest thing I can always tell people is don't doubt yourself just because of the lack of education or certification. If you can network successfully and you have a good personality and good work ethic, you can also be successful. You don't have to have a paper trail that shows that you paid $9 million just to say that you're a Cisco engineer.
You summed that up. That was the summary of the episode perfectly. Good job, Matt. You did the hard work for us.
See? 100% effort.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for this episode of Life in Uptime. Huge thanks to our guest, Matt, for coming on and sharing his journey. And thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the show so that you never miss an episode. And if today's story gave you something to think about, share it with a friend or colleague who may need it. And until next time, keep learning, keep building, and keep your uptime high.